One Piece has returned from one of its longest breaks ever, and it pretty much jumps straight back into the action, taking us to the thrilling battle taking place between Garp and Blackbeard's crew, headed by his former student and former Marine Admiral Aokiji Kuzan. For anyone who doesn't remember, Garp had led this brazen assault on Blackbeard's home base, all for the sake of rescuing his new protege Kobe, and he had taken with him some of the strongest young elites that the Marine have to offer, all of whom were friends with Kobe as part of the organization SWORD. The escape from the island was going well until Kuzan had stepped in, and the only person who was worthy of standing up against him was Garp himself, his former mentor. The last time that we saw the two of them, they were embroiled in a bitter battle, and while neither was dominating the other, it did appear that Garp had the slightest advantage in their fight. But Hachinozu didn't earn its reputation as a pirate paradise for no reason, because wave after wave of pirates begin coming to Kuzan's aid. Will Garp be able to hold out and rescue Kobe, or will he become the next victim of Blackbeard's vicious crew? These are just a few of the questions that have kept the audience as well as myself on the edge of our seats over the last few weeks. But finally now, with the return of One Piece, we can hear some of the answers to these questions. So without further delay, here's my review of chapter 1087 of One Piece. This chapter begins at the coastal shipyard of the Marine G1 base. We see a number of broken ships and debris scattered around, but most notably there are two gigantic battleships, both of which have massive indentations along their bows. Commodore Brand New is explaining to Django that they are a pair of battleship bags, a play on punching bags. These battleships were used by Garp as a replacement for sandbags in order for him to practice his punches, something that he had done daily for decades. The second ship is revealed to have been used by Garp's former student Aokiji. The rules for this form of training was not to use any devil fruit powers or haki, and the only thing that you could use was your fists and your own strength. According to Brand New, this information was proof that Aokiji and Garp were not born strong, but instead they had achieved their incredible strength through hours of hard work and dedication. We get to see a showcase of this incredible strength immediately as we jump back to the battlefield on Hachinozu, as we witness San Juan Wolf being flown into the ocean away from the island. As he slowly sinks to the bottom of the sea, we see the giant skull which overlooks the entirety of the island, which now appears to have developed pupils within its eyes, and it is watching the battle intently. Another captain of the Blackbeard fleet, Vasco Shot, tries to attack Garp, dismissing his status as a legendary hero. He drinks some alcohol before spitting a giant wall of fire towards Garp, who picks up two defeated members of the Blackbeard crew and uses their bodies in order to shield himself from the flames. He then flings their burning bodies all around him, scattering the flames into the surrounding buildings. The swarms of pirates begin to worry because Blackbeard will kill them when he returns. After seeing the state of the island, the pirates are also jaw-dropped that Garp still has so much strength despite being up against an overwhelming amount of pirates. When Garp learns that Kujaku and the rest of the crew are about to set sail to leave the island, he orders Kobe, Groose and Helmeppo to get onto the ship, as they struggle to keep up with the overwhelming amount of pirates who just seem to be appearing out of nowhere. But then suddenly Aokiji returns onto the battlefield, as he reminds them that he cannot let them leave. Garp asks whether if he still wants to fight. With all of the Marines having been ordered to escape to the coast, Kobe notices a woman in distress as she's being harassed by a pirate. He rushes to save her, but then he is tossed aside by Garp, who protects him from an attack from the invisible Shiryu. Garp is impaled straight through his midsection, and in the next panel we see the absolute legend smiling. He raises his fist and slams Shiryu into the ground, as he immediately recognizes him as the criminal from Impel Down. He has the ability to become invisible. Following this critical attack, Garp is in a weakened state. Kobe and the others yell out for him, but he tells them that he's fine and he urges them to get back to the ship. Kobe feels responsible for Garp being hurt. The pirates seize the opportunity as they state that Garp is weakened and they may now be able to take him down, recognizing that Garp has a bounty on his head from Cross Guild of 3 crowns, which is the equivalent to 3 billion berries. Aokiji tells all of the weaklings to get out of his way, telling them that even if they were to tie together both of Garp's arms and legs, he would still be able to kill every single one of them. Before Kuzan and Garp can collide, we finally get some more insight into their past and their dynamic as student and mentor, as a flashback reveals to us Kuzan's first meeting with Garp. While we don't know how long ago this was, Garp looks very young and not even supporting his goatee, and he doesn't have any grey hairs. We see a very young Kuzan asking to become his student, to which Garp immediately refuses, as he states that it would take away some of his freedom. Garp instead tells Kuzan to go and learn from the marine instructors, which Kuzan dismisses, saying that he has learned all that he can from them, and that he wants to aim for the next level now. Garp once again yells at him to get lost, which Kuzan ignores. We next see the pair training together, punching the gigantic battleships that we had seen at the very start of the chapter. Garp tells Kuzan not to use Haki as otherwise it wouldn't be considered training, which Kuzan responds to by saying that he doesn't know how to use Haki anyway. Garp's punches are as loud as cannon fire, and they are so powerful that they begin to warp the outside of the ship that he is attacking. Kuzan's punches on the other hand don't even make an indent. We see the years pass and Kuzan's punches steadily becoming even stronger, while at one point Garp moans to Kuzan about Dragon's decision to become a revolutionary, and eventually we reach a more recent point in time with Kuzan's punches now generating just as loud of a sound as Garp's. Garp is now looking as old as he currently is, and this time he is moaning about Luffy declaring that he is going to become a pirate. Kuzan complains back to Garp that this isn't his problem, before declining Garp's invitation for snacks because he is way too busy now that he has become an admiral. Garp, as one would expect, completely ignores him and yells for some tea. Returning back to the battlefield, Kuzan reminds Garp that he has raised quite a troublesome opponent, but Garp responds by saying that he is no longer a marine, referring to him as a foolish student. The two then collide in an epic blow, simultaneously punching each other in the face with a Haki-infused attack. The surrounding buildings are blown away from the shockwave resulting from their clash, with black lightning scattering into the sky. We zoom out of the battle and see the giant skull which overlooks the entirety of Hachinozu, with its eyes fixated on Garp and Kuzan's battle. The two of them are sent flying from each other's attacks, with Garp landing next to Kobe and Prince Groose. The pair take up a defensive position around Garp, who groans in pain from the amount of damage that he has sustained. Suddenly, a voice speaks out to the entire island, mocking the Marines for believing that they could escape after attacking the pirate paradise, and asking them if they truly thought that their ship was safe when it wasn't even that far away from the coast. We see the Marines on the ship have successfully saved Hibari from Kuzan's ice attack, before they become alarmed at something coming from the island. The mysterious voice is revealed to be Alvaro Pizarro, captain of the 4th ship of the Blackbeard pirates, and wielder of the island fruit. He has the power to take control of the entire island itself. Then suddenly, giant mountain-sized limbs have begun to emerge from the island, with one of the arms closing in on the escaping ship. Pizarro explains that while the papers have always been focused on Blackbeard recently, his crew also want their names to be known, and that the headline for tomorrow's paper will be about how Vice Admiral Garp and the young elites of the Marines had attempted to rescue Marine Captain Kobe but were instead tragically killed at Pirate Island by his hand. Kobe begs him not to attack the ship since even people who aren't Marines are on board. Now the chapter wraps up as we see Garp lying on the floor and now considerably more wounded than he was earlier, telling Kobe not to lose his composure because justice will always prevail. This chapter lets us delve deep into the characters of Kobe, Garp, and Kuzan. Oda reveals some glimpses into the emotional history which underpins this entire conflict. The chapter had started with Django and Brand New discussing the damaged ships within the Navy scrapyard, as we learned that Garp in his youth used to punch the ship as a part of his daily training routine. Alongside the badly damaged ship is another, as it is revealed that Kuzan, his apprentice at the time, had also repeatedly punched it, imitating Garp. The reason that the two of them are so incredibly strong is because of their commitment to training, which is demonstrated by the ships at the Navy scrapyard. When we first are taken to Hachinozu in this chapter, we see Garp effortlessly launch San Juan Wolf into the water, which is an absolutely incredible display of strength. Garp really cuts loose here as we see him use members of the Blackbeard pirates as shields in order to protect himself from the fireballs of Vasco's shot. This is definitely one of the most merciless things that we have seen him do in the entire series. When Garp learns that Kujaku and the others are ready to leave the island, he tells Kobe and the rest of the Marines to retreat, stating that the mission is complete. Kuzan emerges as he is revealed to have survived the last attack. Garp and his subordinates are surrounded, with Garp and Kuzan now facing off against each other. Now what is fascinating here is that Garp pushes aside Kobe in order to take the attack from Shiryu as he is impaled by his blade. This is very emotional as we see Garp smile after receiving this critical wound. Now within One Piece, when characters are impaled like this and they start to smile, you know that it's time to start worrying. And of course I'm referring to Ace here and even Whitebeard. One of my highlights from this chapter was the flashback of Kuzan requesting to become Garp's apprentice. This flashback nicely links back to the scene at the very beginning of the chapter where we had learnt about them training with the damaged ships. It is revealed that the two of them did not utilize haki while practicing their punches. After Aokiji asks to become his apprentice, Garp tells him not to steal his freedom, which is contrasted against him complaining about his son Dragon having become a revolutionary and then later complaining about his grandson wanting to become a pirate. Of course, Dragon and Luffy represent the freedom of following your heart's desire, while Garp in a way had sacrificed his freedom for the sake of others, deciding in the end to help Kuzan as the two of them would form a strong bond over time. Even if Garp had held onto his freedom, he may have figured what use would it be if it would just lead him down the path of his son and grandson. So I think that Garp had decided to forego his freedom in order to dedicate his time to bettering his subordinates. This is why when Kuzan had first met Luffy, he tells him that he owes his grandfather a debt. Now from this latest chapter, we can assume that this debt must have been his gratitude for Garp having accepted him as his apprentice. When the flashback with Kuzan wraps up, we see the two of them clashing in this absolutely incredible panel. Kuzan says to him that it looks like he has raised a troublesome enemy, implying that the reason why he is going to lose is because he had trained him. Garp tells him that he is no longer worthy of calling himself his apprentice, as the two cause an eruption of Conqueror's haki. The chapter ends with the implication that Garp and all of the elite military force Sword are about to be defeated. Despite the bleakness of the situation, Garp states that justice will prevail. However, as we have learnt over the course of the series, things within One Piece are not as simple as Marines are good and pirates are bad. Garp is disappointed in his apprentice for having sided with the pirates. When Garp had first arrived onto the island, he had told him to get back in his uniform, and he had stated that only weaklings lose their way. What is it that Kuzan knows which had inspired him to leave the Marines and to join Blackbeard? His reasoning must be sound if he is willing to go to such lengths against his own mentor in order to assert his position here. The battle on Pirate Island is far from over. There are hints of Perona freeing Moria, who may make his return to the story and join the battle also. Additionally, there is the chance that Blackbeard could return in time in order to also join the fight, after he was successful with defeating Law and his crew. Blackbeard's desire is to use a Navy hero in order for Pirate Island to be granted legitimate country status. If we were to speculate, then I'd assume that Garp will be captured as a hostage, which would conveniently bring Luffy into the entire equation. We know that one of Blackbeard's ships is near Egghead Island, so if the Straw Hats learn about Luffy's grandfather Garp being in a dire situation, then I'm confident that Luffy would lead them into a rescue attempt and to finally have Luffy reunite with his grandfather, as well as taking on the big bad Blackbeard, the man who is responsible for capturing Ace, as well as being responsible for drawing blood against Luffy during their last battle in the Impel Down arc. This recent chapter has generated a lot of buzz and reaction from the community. With the intense battle between Kuzan and Garp raging on, many of us are just blown away by the impressive feats demonstrated by Garp during this chapter. There is a lot of speculation about the death of Garp and how it could affect the One Piece world, including Luffy's reaction, which a lot of fans have been theorizing about. Is it possible that Luffy may be upset with Kobe if something were to happen with Garp? Also, if Garp were to die, then it would be a source of motivation for Kobe in order to get stronger and to strive to honor his superior who had risked everything in order to save him. A lot of people have recalled the mounting punching incident from the Dressrosa arc when Chinjao had fought Garp during a flashback. Fans have speculated that Garp punching mountains was his form of haki training, while punching ships that we had seen in this chapter is his physical endurance training. I do believe that Garp and Luffy need to be reunited, and personally I would be disappointed if Garp was killed here. During the Marineford War arc, there was so much done to set up the dynamic between Garp, Ace and Luffy, and truthfully the end of the arc didn't pay off any of this build up, because we didn't have Garp and Luffy reconcile their feelings about losing Ace. I really think that this does need to happen at some point in the story, and for Garp to understand and accept his son and grandson's sense of freedom, which makes them pursue such wild dreams. Also, we can't have Garp die until we get the God Valley flashback, and I do want to see it via the perspective of Garp, the man who had fought alongside Roger against one of the most powerful crews in the world, the Rocks Pirates. Well, that's everything that I've got for One Piece chapter 1087. We have seen Garp display some incredibly powerful displays of strength, as well as a very nice flashback revealing the beginnings of Kuzan and Garp's bond. It's been a long and difficult wait, but I'm glad to have the One Piece Piece manga back, and for Oda's eye surgery to have gone down successfully and he is in good health. Now we have a lot of questions as always as we look forward to next week's chapter. Will Garp survive this intense encounter while being able to protect Koby and the others? This chapter revealed a side to Garp that we haven't seen before, with how he was willing to do anything to fight back against the enemy, and how he had refused to teach Kuzan initially because he didn't want to sacrifice his freedom. This is a very important talking point and I'd love to know all of your thoughts about it. So with all of this said, let me know your opinions on One Piece chapter 1087. What are your theories on the fate of Garp? Do you think that Blackbeard is going to join the battle? And in the end, whose justice is going to prevail? Will it be the justice of the pirates or the justice of the marines? With One Piece in its endgame, things are getting heated up and I cannot wait for the next installment of the manga. I look forward to reading all of your theories and speculations on this new chapter, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.